true master at work.
EESTI
ESO. Greetings, all the listeners. This is the first show in English because we have a lot of special guests in the house today. Mr. Worldwide Dubstep, Joe Nice.
Worldwide. What's good, everybody?
Yeah, so we have local dubstep OGs, Mr. Bisweed and Slin.
Legends.
Greetings. Hello.
What's up, you guys?
What's happening?
How are you?
I'm good. We're gonna talk about dubstep.
Perfect.
I love it, you love it, but what is it? If you had to define dubstep, Joe, what would you say?
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Dubstep is bass, pace, and space. It's a genre of electronic dance music which originated from South London almost 25 years ago. It's the South London sound. Again, bass heavy music, 140 beats per minute. That's it. I mean, I've said that it's a physical listening experience. You need it on a big sound system. I mean, it's one thing to listen to dubstep on your cell phone or on your laptop or on your tablet. It's another thing to hear it on a large sound system, dark room, big speakers, talented brothers like these brothers over here. It's the sound that I think that a lot of people are listening to now, and that more people are listening to every day, because there's a lot of freedom within the sound. There's so many there's so many other genres that are a part of the music, yet the music has its own space. It has its own identity.
We were just talking with Bisweed about dubstep origins. So the last show, Dub Shack, which you're organizing, Slin, the last party I was at, one guy told me that all the women are getting orgasms from dubstep. So what's the story behind the decibels and hertz?
Real quick, I want to know this story. I don't know this.
I don't know who it was, but one guy told me that women love dubstep because of that.
Maybe. Possibly.
So that's part of the physical listening experience from big speakers.
Definitely. The sub-low end has to be good. The subwoofers have to be they have to be of good quality to reach the really low notes. Otherwise kind of missing out.
So can you even listen to dubstep at home?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, you can listen to it at home. I mean, if you have a decent enough sound system to do it, sure.
Yeah.
Good if I have a shit sound system.
Then
no dubstep for me.
then you're shit out of luck, brother.
No laptop speakers, no.
Let's make it clear. It's very important that there is this certain kind of vibration, and sound is physical. It's really waves, right?
Absolutely.
Waves which travel through air, through water. I haven't listened to dubstep in water yet.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, could tsunami.
But there is an effect which I really like when you listen to the sound system and you cannot focus with your eyes anymore because the vibration is so intense that your eyeballs are literally shaking inside your skull.
I've had that happen before.
Yeah, talking about water, there's I think those old videos are still somewhere on YouTube. The old DMZs, the Digital Mystics parties at the Mass, I think, in Brixton.
St. Matthew's Church in Mass, yeah, South. Yep,
that's right. Someone filmed. They were in the toilet and they filmed water moving inside the bathroom.
Yeah. And I've been in that toilet when the sound system's been moving and
making different figures and forms.
Yeah, and it's not right by the speaker. It's not right by the sound system. It's back of the room, outside of the room. Yeah, it was. Yeah, those parties were legendary. I mean, I've played those parties a bunch. Yeah.
So if I think about the name dubstep, it kind of gives me some clues, dub and step. But where did it come from, dubstep?
I think it was Hatcher, right, Joe?
He was really the first DJ to really play it. Yeah, but it was on cover of Accelerator magazine, where it was I think it was Horsepower Productions that were on the front of the cover, and they were doing an interview with them, and it was about the word dubstep. It was just on the cover, and supposedly Hatcher came up with the name dubstep because the genre, the sounds didn't necessarily fit all the other sounds in British dance music at the time. You had two-step, obviously you had grime, but this dubstep stuff didn't really sound like either of those. Obviously you had jungle, drum and breaks, drum and bass breaks, etc. So dubstep didn't necessarily sound like all the other genres that were out there. So we had to call it something. And then if you listen to many of the bass lines that are in dubstep, there's an obvious dub, Jamaican roots, reggae feel to the sound, to those bass lines. You put them with these two-step beats that you were hearing from, the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. You marry them together, dubstep. That's what happened.
That's how I started to listening dubstep, because first I got into reggae.
Yes.
Then I got bored of the lyrics, so I started listening dub, only instrumental.
Right.
And then I found dubstep, and it sounded totally new for me, so I was intrigued.
Yeah. Yeah. How long ago was that for you?
I think it was when I was like 16 or something.
So 2 weeks ago.
Exactly. The other question I want to ask you guys is, a few years back I was playing in my hometown, and I...
Which hometown would this be?
Tartu.
Tartu, okay. Second largest city in the country.
Yeah, we were just talking about it on the way.
Exactly. And
I pay attention.
I was feeling really good. I was drinking champagne, and
celebration.
I played this tune called Skeng from the Bug.
Classic.
And I pulled it back like 4 times or 5 even maybe. And then there was this chick who came to me, and she was very angry. She didn't understand what I was doing. So what's the meaning behind rewinding tunes?
It comes from Jamaican dub and dancehall culture.
Yeah.
When the crowd likes a tune and they want to hear it again, the selector, or in this instance the DJ in this context, wheels it back, pulls up the rewind.
Yeah.
You got to have it again. If it's nice, play it twice.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it's nice, play it twice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Maybe 3 times.
That's I think dubstep is the drop is very important, right? And if it's good, you want to hear it twice, like you said.
Right. But but dubstep, in my opinion, is so much more than just the drop, because some of these genres are drop specific, where you don't necessarily care about the intro. You're waiting for that build up to the drop, and then you're waiting for the I guess from a literary perspective, the denouement. You're waiting for that declination to where the next part of the break will be, and then you're waiting for what's going to happen after the break. And sure, there is a bit of a formula with dubstep, but in my opinion, the best dubstep comes from when there's something interesting that happens after the second drop. You're just not copying and pasting what you did the first 16 or first 32 bars. There has to be a change up. There has to be something more than just what you did previously. It's just like life. There's so many people that do great things in life, but then they live off of what they've done in the past. So much of our society is, what have you done for me lately? What happened? What's going to happen next? I need more than just what you gave me earlier on. And I love what you gave me earlier on, but I need more than that. And I think the best dubstep gives you something different after the second drop. And and obviously you want a nice drop, whether it's at the 17th bar or the 33rd bar, but you want something more than just what you had earlier on.
Yeah, I think listening to dubstep, the first thing that was really surprising to me was the space between music.
That's why I said it's bass, pace, and space.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
There's so many
I got
rooms.
T-shirts with that on it, brother. I got a T-shirt with that on it. Dubstep equals bass, pace, and space. It's on my website, joenicedj.net. It's the dubstep math shirt.
Go visit.
Go visit. Get yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your merch. But yeah, that's what it is, man. That's the mathematical equation that is dubstep. It's bass, pace, and space. The pace is 140 beats per minute. That's all you need.
Yeah, touching on one of the previous topics as well, as Joe was saying, that basically dubstep is like a combination of different things, different types of music, different genres with a sub-bass foundation. And you were saying you reach dubstep through
reggae and dub.
Yeah, exactly. And like different people who like different genres, they might they might discover dubstep and they're like, whoa, this has like elements of type of music that I like. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So talking about ruining dubstep, Joe, you're from the US.
I live in the US, yes, but I'm not originally from the US.
You're not?
No, sir. I'm originally from the UK.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
no,
why you like dubstep.
Yeah. Well, I like dubstep because it's the best genre of music ever made. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I was born in England. Parents are from Trinidad and Tobago. I came to the United States when I was 18 months old, and I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland.
There's a lot of talk about when dubstep reached US, then it was kind of it went mainstream and it changed a lot. So what's the difference between US dubstep and UK dubstep?
Kind of, it was like Joe was pushing the
real business,
the original sound,
the real stuff
before it went mainstream in the US as well. Do you know what I mean?
Joe is called still, right?
Dubstep ambassador. Yeah. And I said this somewhat jokingly the other day to somebody. I mean, you can't have ambassador without the word bass in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and I know there's many a true word spoken in a joke when I say, "Oh, you can't have the word ambassador without bass." And so much of the quote unquote American dubstep that was popular about 10 to 12 years ago, 2010, 2011, 2012, it lacked that sub frequency. It was a lot of mids, and it sounded considerably more angry, more aggressive, more pugnacious.
Yeah, the focus was elsewhere.
The focus was elsewhere. The focus was not on the bass. It wasn't on that.
Yeah.
And when you think about kind of to draw all the comparisons and draw all the parallels and tie everything together, earlier on I said that this genre of music came from Jamaican sound system culture, roots, dub, reggae. Think about roots. Okay, not just the genre of music roots, but roots. When you talk about the tree and its roots, the roots grow underneath the ground. It grows underneath the ground and it gets low. Think about what happened 10 years ago with what happened with quote unquote American dubstep. The roots of the sound in its most literal and figurative senses were gone because it no longer became underground anymore. It wasn't underground anymore, like the roots of a tree. It was not underground. But when you think about the bass line, which is supposed to be low, underground, low roots, that was also gone. So that genre of quote unquote American dubstep, or what it was pejoratively known as brostep, it lacked that fundamental element, which was roots. Not only the respect for the roots of where the culture came from in South London, but that bass line, which was low, which are similar to the roots of a tree that's underground. And it also didn't have that. It was quite honestly a completely different genre of music. It didn't have any sort of relativity to what was going on in East Croydon, Thornton Heath, all the neighborhoods in South London, Bristol, Manchester. It just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. So to even call it a quote unquote American dubstep, it's really disrespectful to the dubstep that was around when I got involved with this genre of music almost 25 years ago. It's a completely different sound.
Yeah, for the ordinary Joe, when I say to someone, I like dubstep.
Yeah,
that's what they imagine.
Yeah, unfortunately, that genre, that let's say like a separate genre, unfortunately, still to this day, gives a lot of people like a wrong impression about what dubstep is.
Yeah, exactly. Joe, listening to your shows,
yes, sir.
There's like a vocal element to your shows as well, and one of my favorite things you've said is percussion salad. And when I'm listening to Bisweed's sound, it sounds like a percussion salad for me.
I'm telling you that and it's so funny. I came up with that almost by mistake. It was years ago when I was doing my radio show on Sub FM, and I think I was just eating a salad just before I went on the air, and I was like, and there was a lot of percussion in the tune. I was like, oh, this one, percussion salad. And it just kind of stuck. And it was like, because you have a salad, there's all these different ingredients in it, but then when you listen to especially a lot of Bisweed stuff, there's all these different pieces to it. You know what I'm saying? There's like, there's a piano, or there's a harp, and then there's this drums and all this other stuff going on. But then I just said percussion salad, and it kind of just fit. And it was just one of these things you don't think of putting the word percussion and salad together, but for some reason it was like, yeah, it kind of.
It sounds good.
It sounds good. And, usually when stuff sounds good, you don't really need the justification for why you said it. It just sounds good, and that's really the only reason. And it's stuck.
Yeah, when talking about like dubstep parties, the music experience is kind of intense. It's kind of physical.
Yes.
So
you got to walk outside a couple of times to catch your breath.
Exactly.
You can get hot and sweaty too.
And the thing about rewind is as well, you can hear like a few seconds of silence, and I think it works really well.
Yes,
but
that's the space.
Dynamics. I like to describe it as we get it hot.
Yeah.
With the drop. Mm-hmm. And then we need to cool down just to get hot again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
But Slin, you MC as well, so I don't know.
Legend, by the way, legend.
When you're at a party, it's it does something to hear like a human voice between. When you're just listening to 4 hours of dark dubstep, no human sounds, it's a bit different. So, what's the importance of MCing?
Oh, that's a good question. It definitely gives a set or the music like an extra vibe to it. Let me put it this way.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
You're always
culture and history in any way, like,
and also communicating with the crowd and maybe getting the people involved more. Like Estonians, for example, most Estonians are really shy. So like one of the things that I say on the mic sometimes is like, don't be shy, get involved.
Put your hands up.
Yeah, but having an MC, it also is a direct connection to Jamaican sound system culture. When we talk about, when you had MCs on selectors' tracks, it was called hosting. You had hosting and toasting. So that having an MC now in this context of dubstep, it not only adds to the listening and experience of being in a dubstep dance, but it also pays respect to the direct connection and the lineage and the heritage and history of Jamaican sound system culture.
Sometimes I almost feel like the MC is explaining the tunes, not like literally, but
yes,
he's explaining the experience, and when MC gets hyped up, the people get hyped up as well.
Yes.
An interesting thing as well, in Jamaica, DJ is called selector. And the MC is called DJ.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dubstep is kind of like, I don't know, 20 years old, let's say.
Yeah, about
Something
that.
like
It's
that.
old enough to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how has it evolved over time?
That's an intriguing question, brother, because
it sounds different than it sounded like 2005
or in 2001 or 2002, and I think part of the reason why it sounds different is because there's so many more people, producers, in so many more countries that are making the sound. So as a result, they're going to take their musical and cultural influences into their production and into their music making capabilities and their creative process, and come up with what their interpretation of what dubstep is. I mean, take for example these brothers over here. Estonia is not London. It's not. There is a musical history and heritage here, but they both understand the culture of dubstep as we all understand it from London, from Great Britain, from South London. They've put their interpretation on it. They're making amazing music. You take a look at what Lasse and Mikael have done not too far away from here in Helsinki, Finland. There's a Finnish music history.
Yeah.
They've put their spin on it. They've done their thing. Gans, Istanbul, Turkey. They've done their thing. Take a look at what's happened in New Zealand with all their musical history down there. Truth, Headland. There's a whole musical history down there. So you have, there's a lot of, take for instance what's happening in Russia right now.
Gothrat from Japan.
Oh my gosh. I was just with him yesterday.
Yeah.
We were just having dinner last night. Take a look at the Japanese influence of what's going on with City One, Mondegai, Helgtram, Day Zero. oh gosh,
Are there
Gotcha.
African dubstep?
I haven't seen. It's interesting, and crazily
heard
enough,
it.
you would think there would be. I haven't. I can't think of any African producers off the top of my head right now, and you would think there would be some, but
I can. Escapism Refugee,
yes, yeah, of course, yeah.
South Africa.
He's South African. He's South African. Yeah, but I mean, I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. Yeah, and you would think there would be more,
Yeah.
and I guess maybe that's. I wish there was more coming from Africa. I wish there was more coming from Africa, and quite honestly, I wish there was more coming from South America. Because think about all the different genres of music that come from South America. Think about Brazil, a country of, I don't know, 300 million people, and all the different genres of music that are coming out of Brazil. Yeah, there's a lot of Brazilian influence in other genres of music, electronic music, but I haven't seen a whole lot coming out of Brazil that's specifically...
There is a couple.
But not nearly as much as you would hope there would be.
Yeah,
because Brazil is a percussion salad in a way.
Yeah.
Of the music, right?
They
Coming back
invented
to that.
percussion salad. What are you talking
Exactly.
about?
Who was that toured?
And then-
Was it Silky that toured over there? I think in Brazil.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But yeah, there's, and obviously you've got, I mean, hell, there's a ton of producers in Canada right now that are on fire.
Yeah.
They're on fire right now. You know, Cold Cuts, Raz, Abstract Sonnets. Yeah, there's a ton of producers going on up there. Substance. There's a lot of talent coming up. Livingstone. A ton of talent coming out of Canada right now. And the United States, I mean, we've, mentioned a ton of people from the United States already, but yeah.
You guys have seen lots of dubstep crowds. What would you
Yes.
say is like an average or dubstep fan? We're talking about like women love dubstep, but I don't know. I haven't seen lots of women.
What average real dubstep fan?
Yeah,
Like the person's looks or personality? Or what do you mean?
I mean the like stereotypical fan, as I imagine it, is a guy with a hood on and
But knows
he's,
about the sound.
really high, but he loves the sound.
Knows about the sound.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you said it already.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's an element of darkness to it. Isn't it?
Sure. I don't know if there's necessarily a thing as a quote unquote stereotypical dubstep fan.
Yeah.
Because so much of dubstep happens in so many different places now. And much of what happens in many of these places is a direct reflection on the people from those particular communities and cities. So just like all of us, we all are ultimately are products of our own environments. And I think the same can be said for dubstep in these particular places. So yes, there is going to be some homogeneity within the dubstep diaspora based upon where you are around the world, whether you're in Brighton, England, Tallinn, Estonia, Nicosia, Cyprus, Berlin, Germany, Vancouver, British Columbia, wherever. But I think in each of those spaces that I just mentioned and a whole lot of others, there's going to be differences within the people that typically support those particular parties in those particular places, simply because every city is going to be different than every other city. Do you see what I'm saying? So the crowd of people that I'm going to see for Dub Shack this Friday night, it's going to be different than the crowd of people that I just saw in Brighton this past weekend. And it's going to be different than the group of people that I'm going to see in a week and a half when I play in Larnaca, Cyprus. And it's going to be different wherever I'm going to be going. But at the same time, the connection with the people that you're going to see at dubstep parties is, like Brother Slin just said, there's going to be a connection of that dubstep DNA that is in all of the people that understand what a dubstep party is about.
Before you were talking about dubstep is sub bassy and it's underground,
Yes.
Can dubstep ever become mainstream?
American dubstep became mainstream, but I think it became mainstream for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It became mainstream for the wrong reasons because you had people with a particular look, and that look in many instances superseded the original elements of the sound. Can dubstep, as we have been talking about for the past 20 minutes or so, be a mainstream sound? Yes, but I don't want it to. And the reason why I don't want it to is, again, what I said earlier about the connection with dubstep and Jamaican sound system culture and roots. Roots are, by its own definition, underground. So if roots are, by its own definition, underground, and dubstep pays homage to Jamaican sound system culture, by default, dubstep should never become a mainstream sound, because you and I, we all understand, all the listeners already know this, you can't be mainstream and underground at the same time, or at least you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And if you are, then good for you. If you, that's great. That's great for you. But if you are mainstream and underground at the same time, I don't know how you can balance being in both spaces. You know what I'm saying? You can't. You shouldn't be able to straddle the fence that way. At least I don't think you should.
I think so far, personally, I think Benga and Koki's Night is like the one and only tune that is respected both in the underground and in the mainstream.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
And I think another tune from back in those days was Scream's Midnight Request Line.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that was another one. And I think not only did it get popular in the mainstream,
in the grime circle as well.
Bingo. That's exactly where I was going with it. It also became multi-genre popular, because there were grime guys who were like, yeah, I can vibe with this, but a whole lot of dubstep heads were like, oh, yeah, we can get on this too. And if you go back, 17 to maybe 20 years ago, a lot of plasticians, Plastic Man originally, but then plasticians, a lot of plastician stuff was, at first, a lot of people were like, it was too grime for dubstep and it was too dubstep for grime. But then after a while, people were like, oh yeah, a lot of people vibed with a lot of the stuff that he was making, especially that early stuff like Print Loop, The Lift, Hard Graft, all of that older stuff that he was doing. It fit, so it ticked off a lot of boxes for a lot of people in a lot of genres. And again, like we were talking about earlier, when you asked me the question, or asked us the question, what's a typical dubstep fan? And I said that it's a lot of people in a lot of different communities. That's the beauty of this sound. There's a lot of people in a lot of different places that can find different elements and different bits and pieces within each tune that has some sort of relativity to what they grew up with. Dubstep is a sound with a history, and now it's getting a history, but it obviously has a heritage, and so much of that heritage comes from other genres where other people have come from, and they've made this quote unquote pilgrimage to what is now dubstep.
Talking about
what I really like about the sound is that it can have a background from jazz, from house,
yes,
from techno, but there is no defined subgenres in dubstep genre, right? And
lots of influences.
And some producers are really recognizable with their own sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talking about
you hear a track and then you instantly know that it's.
You're like, yep,
yeah,
I know where it is. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
For example, Silky's sound is like you always know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But talking about the thing from underground growing and growing more popular. Trap music is really popular right now. Have you guys seen like an interest in dubstep as well? Because a lot of times the tempo is the same to trap beats, and I don't know, are people more familiar with dubstep because trap is so popular?
There has been a bit of crossover, yes. There absolutely has been, but and I've heard some producers implement, those trill hi-hats or the same big 808s that are big parts of trap and put it in dubstep. And obviously, because dubstep is a bass-centric genre of music, it makes sense that bits of trap would come into it. But there has been some crossover. There's been some connection, sure.
Question for producers, Slin and Bisweed.
You're
a producer.
And I'm getting on the buttons now.
Okay,
yeah.
Didn't
I'm getting
know
on the buttons. I mean, quite frankly, I wish I'd learned how to produce music, 15 to 20 years ago.
So
There's
you're
no-
catching
It's
up
never
now.
too late, man.
Yeah, it's never too late, obviously. But I mean, there's no telling what the butterfly effect of that would have been. And my uncle, God rest his soul, he always told me this. He said, Joe, you can't chase two rabbits at once. So when I had the opportunity back in those days to learn how to make music, it was, okay, do I learn how to make music, or do I play music in as many places as possible and get really good at DJing and doing radio? Because I knew I couldn't devote myself to both. So I chose the DJing path. And, you know, somehow the DJing path has led me to being in a studio in downtown Tallinn, Estonia, chatting about dubstep. So I think I made the right decision. You know, I've been to 50 countries now, so I think I did okay. But knowing what I know now, I would have tried to carve out some more time to learn how to learn production, especially back in those days, because then I would have gotten those 10,000 hours in, and then who knows what would have happened musically after that. But
That's 10 years.
yeah.
But
exactly.
one of my favorite producers, Code 9,
Legend.
I listened to his latest album, and I didn't even know how to, categorize it.
Oh, he's got a new album.
Yeah.
This year.
This summer.
This
I think.
summer.
Okay, I
Yeah.
haven't even
Yeah.
heard it.
So, like Bisweed was saying, there's so many influences, and kind of the rules are kind of loose, producing dubstep.
Yeah.
Which is is 140 the tempo the most important rule, or can you jump up and down?
140 is the most important rule. Actually, I think if we were to have, I guess, the dubstep commandments, 140 is one of them. Low bass is the other. Dubstep, yeah, bass, pace, space, 140 beats per minute. Hell, what I just said in the beginning of this interview, dubstep is bass, pace, and space. The pace being 140 beats per minute, bass and space. There's your answer.
But I like to break this rule still.
Well, I know, because you're a
Rules are for
habitual
breaking
rule
it.
breaker.
I like when I can make a 132 track sound like 142. Like I put so much percussion in it.
Percussion salad.
So it sounds faster.
Yeah.
Or I put tempo to 148, and I try to make with those swing effect, or getting some of the pieces of the rhythm being too late or too early, and experimenting with the space of this. You can actually get this 148 sound slower.
Yeah, actually, when I first heard breaks music, I didn't know what it was, so I called it slow jungle.
Slow jungle, yeah.
Makes sense.
Slow
Yeah.
jungle.
In a bit.
Yeah. What do you guys think? What's the future of dubstep? So we established that it's always going to be around 140.
Correct.
But how do you see it evolving? In what does dubstep sound in
More bass.
15 years?
More
More
bass.
bass.
I think the evolution of dubstep is going to be based upon geography. I honestly feel that because of the proliferation of the internet, broadband internet, the availability of digital audio workstations, most people write about now, there's a massive shift towards Ableton. Obviously, you have some Logic users, you have Fruity Loops, but a ton of people are just jumping on Ableton, and obviously many of so many plugins sound like the old hardware that was being used to make music 20 or 30 or almost 35 years ago. So the availability of digital audio workstations, broadband internet around globally, more people finding out about the sound from a variety of ways. I think there's going to be more influences from other countries, like we spoke about 10 to 15 minutes ago, that are going to add their own flavors to what dubstep is. And I think that's the evolution of the genre. I think the other evolution of the genre is more of a cross-pollination of other genres of music that are being added to what we call dubstep. Truth be told, I've been listening to a lot of a lot of techno recently, a lot of it, and again, I never really used to like techno because I thought a lot of it was boring. I thought a lot of techno was really boring. But I've been listening, and I've been listening to a lot of techno now, and I'm realizing a lot of these rumbling bass lines, these rumbling kicks, would work in a dubstep party. A lot of it would, and especially if there's a lot of techno that I'm hearing right now that, in terms of beats per minute, is not that far away from dubstep. Might be a little bit slower, but not that far away.
Some actually faster.
Some of it, it's a little bit faster. Around one
at this moment.
Yeah,
there's like emerging.
Yeah,
speedier stuff.
Yeah, you're hearing some speedier stuff too. So, I think, if I had to have a prediction, I think there's going to be a lot more dubstep that's going to sound somewhat similar to techno at a higher BPM. I think that's where I'm feeling this is going to go. And that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I think it would be a great thing because there's a whole lot of people who listen to techno that that might not necessarily be into dubstep because there might not be something in dubstep that a lot of techno fans, hardcore techno fans, would really appreciate. But I think if we have some more techno producers that will eventually make their way into dubstep, that could potentially introduce a whole new group of techno fans, and obviously we will welcome them into dubstep because we're a welcoming genre of people. We don't gatekeep in dubstep. That's not what we're about. And so I think the prediction, more of a techno influence in dubstep, but still maintaining the roots. There's that word again.
But there's dub techno as well, though.
Yeah, there is, and I love. Honestly, I would love to go to a party one of these days where it's just 4 or 5 hours of just dub techno, and I'm just in a corner with a bottled water, and I'm just hood over my head, eyes down, and I'm just zoning out.
Stereotypical
dubstep thing. Yeah,
I would go for a heavier smoothie.
Hey, smoothie's not bad. Little coconut milk. You know what I'm saying? Strawberries, blueberries. Yeah, let's go for it.
I've thought about techno listening to, I like this, I don't know how to call it, but hard dub, that comes from France, and it's really bassy stuff. And
well, it's fall by the floor.
Yeah, it's a lot of times
technically,
it's like 125 or something, and I'm listening to it, and the kicks kind of sound like techno, like.
Yeah. And again, I'm just learning how to use Ableton. So many of the tutorials that I'm watching, a lot of them, there's a couple of dubstep, few channels that are devoted to making dubstep, but a lot of the tutorials that I'm seeing right now, a lot of the education, it's coming from a techno perspective. So much of it is obviously, the 4/4 kicks and shuffling hi-hats and all of that. That's fine. But these rumbling bass lines, how to set up a chain in Ableton to do all of that. I'm watching a lot of these videos and I'm like, oh, well, you know what? Yeah, that would work in dubstep. You just change the instrumentation slightly.
But Joe, maybe in 10 years we're gonna talk about Joe Nice, the techno ambassador.
You know what? I don't know. Maybe.
Never say never.
Never say never is right. Never say never is right.
No, I'm not gonna let that happen.
No. I won't let that happen. I won't let that happen. But I think there's gonna be more of that. There's gonna be more of a techno influence, more of that involved with the genre of music. The other thing I think you're going to hear a little bit more of is a bit more of a hip hop influence.
Yeah, and jazz as well.
Yeah, and jazz as well, because there's a lot of there are some amazingly talented musicians out here. Yuffie is one of them. I was just hanging out with him this past weekend. I mean, he's a classically trained jazz pianist. I mean, when you see him touring around, it's with his jazz trio. It's not necessarily because he's doing a whole lot of dubstep. We were talking about this when we were hanging out in Berlin a few months back. He's like, look, I'm a jazz musician that just makes dubstep every once in a while. You listen to a lot of his broken beat, it's incredibly musical. But then when you listen to a lot of broken beat, for example, there's bits and pieces of that you hear in a lot of dubstep now. So to go on with what Slin was saying, I think a lot of broken beat jazz, a lot of jazz, specifically just jazz, into dubstep, Yeah, I could totally see that happening. And if you understand anything about the history of jazz, and then you kind of relate that to what dub was and still is, a lot of people in the Caribbean diaspora would listen to dub like a lot of, quite frankly, black people in America would just listen to jazz. They're just, you're cooking in your kitchen, you're hearing some Dizzy Gillespie or some John Coltrane, some Wynton Marsalis, whatever, some Max Roach. You're listening to jazz while you're having dinner at the table. It's no different than if you're listening to King Tubby or Augustus Pablo when you're in the Caribbean. So when you think about how all of those genres could be connected directly to dubstep, you could totally see that working.
What was the thing called that Augustus Pablo played?
Melodica.
Oh yeah. Really easy question for
Otherwise known as a wind organ.
Wind organ.
Yes, I've heard that too, a wind organ.
Never heard that.
A really easy question for all the three of you.
Yes,
What's your all-time favorite dubstep tune? One tune.
Mark Pritchard and Heavy Stone.
Oh, massive. Oh,
That's a good one.
Jesus.
Slin, what's yours?
Yeah, I don't even know, bro.
My goodness.
Maybe Chrome Star and Sessman Kalawanji.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one.
What's your Joe?
Mala, lean forward.
Okay, yeah.
Lean forward. For me, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's one. A close second, and I mean close second. Goth tried cut end.
Mm-hmm.
That, Jesus. But then it's tough to pick just one.
Yeah, there's
You know what I'm
many,
saying?
right?
It's like, who do I love more, my mom or my daughter? It's like, come on. It's tough to pick just one. But if you had to give me just one, yeah, Mala, lean forward. Yeah.
I was going to say, Joe was talking about hip-hop influence and like some of the tunes that have been coming out recently. Like to me, some of them sound like 90s hip-hop instrumentals at 140 BPM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That old boom bap from New York.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hear a lot of 90s rave influence as well.
Yeah, a lot of rim shots recently as well. Lots of rim shot snares.
And I totally can relate to you, Joe, that techno, dubstep.
Yeah, you could feel it.
What I'm on.
Yeah,
at the moment.
you could feel it. It's a vibe. It's a different sort of energy. And it's
But future
works.
is going to bring us new technologies which are already accessible. AI, and that is very curious. I'm. Give me an AI for production. I'm gonna make some.
Yeah.
Seen a video of AI, doing a painting. Just you give them some like words. I don't know, sea, soul, women, and they do like a magnificent painting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you give an
in
AI
a style of Da Vinci or in a style
exactly.
of oil painting.
So you give an AI like a few like base, space, and pace.
See what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
See what happens. See what's going on.
So everyone who's listening and who wants to feel dubstep, what is gonna happen on Friday? This Friday. Slin, take it away.
So Joe Nice at Kauppalais on this Friday, Dub Shack. Third time in Estonia. Third time playing at Dub Shack.
Yeah.
So everyone.
Hat trick.
The hat trick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. And obviously we got these brothers on the lineup.
And also Kusto.
Q100.
Android.
Yes. I think cover charge is €10.
Yeah.
We accept cash. We also accept cards. So we want everybody to come out. It's going to be an amazing night. Big sound
Can
system.
you pay with a card
Absolutely.
at the entrance?
Yes.
No.
No, you can't.
No.
Oh.
What?
Cash only.
I'm not coming.
Really? I thought
Card at the bar.
Card in the bar.
Damn. Okay. I was
Underground, innit?
mistaken. I was mistaken.
Underground.
Card for the drinks and cash for the entrance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Sub FM on Saturday. Joe Nice back on Sub FM.
Oh my goodness. See?
You didn't know that? Huh?
I didn't remember. And, I've been traveling a lot over the past 24 hours. And, some things you don't always remember everything. But yeah, Sub FM. What time is the Sub FM show, please?
It's 7 till 9 p.m. Estonian time. So that's 5 till 7 GMT, I think.
Yes, which would be 11 to 1 East Coast time. East Coast time.
New York.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
So actually,
Joe-
no. You said 11. You said, what did you say GMT would be?
GMT 5 till 7 p.m.
5 to 7. Okay, I'm sorry. So it'll be 12 to, so it's a 1 hour show or 2 hours?
2 hours.
So it's 12 to 2, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. East Coast time, which will be 9 to 11 Pacific Coast time or West Coast time.
On Saturday.
Yes, sub.fm. Sub.fm.
Okay, we'll see everyone at Kauplusaasi then on Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see everybody in the chat room on Saturday.
Exactly.
On
Chat room
sub.fm.
is important.
It's gonna be saucy.
Come through, all of yous, or you will lose.
Yeah, yeah. You snooze, you lose. Don't miss out. It's gonna be a big night. And again, I'm honored to be in the presence of everybody here, and I'm just thankful that that I still get to play music around the world. I mean, in the pandemic, many of us weren't allowed to go anywhere, and yeah, it's a blessing and it's an honor and it's a privilege to be back here again, and I'm thankful.
Thank you guys for coming and
Yes.
talking to us about dubstep.
Yeah, thank you.
Big up, thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother.
EESTI ESO.